Poverty, an old problem, something that's been with us for decades and longer, and something that we've been working on very seriously. Talking about that, I'll tell you about a solution that we have come up at our work, and it seems to be working really well. What is poverty? Poverty is a state of not having something, or having relatively less than others. And by virtue of that, you end up with a life of deprivation. By deprivation, you are actually causing somebody to have a hardship or to have a suffering, which is an indignity. All persons of the world are created equal, and we deserve equal opportunity. But poverty doesn't allow us that. And therefore, poverty has been identified as a fundamental violation of our human rights. And that's why we are here talking about it today, to see how we can solve it for the rest of the world. More so than poverty, a tougher and a deeper problem is that of extreme poverty, where people have bigger hardships and suffer more. What are the numbers around the world today? 1 in 10. 1 in 10 persons is considered to be in extreme poverty. And extreme poverty is a dire situation. While half the world's population is supposed to be poor, 1/10 of the world's population is extremely poor. This number is 700,000 people out there. In some countries, this number is higher, while in other countries it's lower, but it exists all over the world, which is a good thing because it gives us a common platform to talk about so that we can come together and find a solution. And although it's a bigger challenge than poverty, which is we've been working on for the last 15 years, we've done great because globally, poverty has been brought down to, do we know? Half. It's been brought down to half through the MDGs. But now we see that extreme poverty, which is a smaller group, has not been changed so much. Extreme poverty pretty much remains the way it was a number of years back. So now we are addressing it. It's a bigger challenge. It's a bigger problem that we have on our hands, and it's a tougher proposition. We're looking at it more closely, and it's the time now to work on extreme poverty for the next coming 15 years. We've set ourselves an ambitious challenge to make sure that we all achieve it. The challenge is that we are going to zero extreme poverty by the year 2030. Now, before I get into how my work is working to solve extreme poverty, I want us to think about a few design challenges from our everyday lives to see how we have arrived at a solution through our work. It's a nail. A nail is an essential element of any building project, but a nail doesn't work on its own. For a nail to function, we need another tool, which I just gave you a glimpse of. To make the nail work, we would need an answer. It's a hammer. The interesting thing, though, is not all nails need a different type of hammer. You can have one hammer, and all the nails, no matter what size you have in your toolbox, would work, right? So the hammer's size does not matter. Any size would fit. Now, transporting this problem to personal lives, in our everyday life, do we have solutions to problem where one size would fit anybody? Yeah, perhaps a cap that we use for sports, a hat maybe that we are using in the cold or for the wind, shades for the sun, or an umbrella for the rain. All of these are solutions that we have in our everyday life that exist out there. We can just go out there and get it. We do not need to customize. One size fits all. That's one type of a solution to problems. But perhaps we can think of a problem where one size doesn't fit all. Let's say, how about shoes, footwear? If I asked you to design footwear for somebody, you couldn't come out with a solution like that because one size wouldn't fit all. For that kind of a problem, we need to approach the problem through asking questions. What are the questions we need to ask to design footwear? We would have to ask things like, is it for a man or a woman? Is it for indoors, outdoors? What kind of climate would it be used in? Whether it's going to be sunny, hot, whether it's going to be wet, and so on. Will it be used for sports or for something like dance, and so on? There can be many, many types of questions that would help us to design the right kind of footwear for somebody. So that's what we call a customized solution, where one size doesn't fit all. Let's apply the customized solution to a problem that all cities are faced with. A problem where we need to get large numbers of people from point A to point B. With this kind of a problem, the city authorities need to come up with a solution. But for that, we need to ask questions like, do they need to get there fast? Or can they go slowly? Do they need to get there inexpensively? Or could it be costly? Do they need to go there alone? Or do they need to get there in a group? And depending on the answer to these questions, we would be able to design the right kind of public transportation. Public transportation options that exist in any city responds to the different needs of people. And that's why it's a customized solution. The ultra-poor, as we call them in Bangladesh, the extreme poor, the ultra-poor cannot use microfinance. Why? Because they're probably not educated or skilled to start their own business. They have more immediate needs. If you loan an ultra-poor person $25, they have such pressing needs. They're hungry, they need medicine, they need clothes for their children, or perhaps they need to fix a roof over their heads. So that amount of loan does not go to something productive. They would have to use it for a more immediate need. Because of their very desperate and very large needs, ultra-poor people do not want to generally risk to take microfinance and not be able to pay it back. So in that sense, this wonderful solution for poverty cannot raise all boats. This is a rising tide, but cannot raise all boats because ultra-poor do not access microfinance. That's one solution down. What is another solution that we can think about? Relief assistance. Relief. We're all in the habit of giving assistance to the poor. Give them a shirt, give them a few dollars, give them large amounts of perhaps food and other items. The thing about relief, assistance, aid in cash or kind is that it fills the temporary need for the time being, but doesn't do anything for their future. So they may be able to eat today with the money you give them, or maybe they'll eat for a week or for a month, but for the next 2 years or the next 5 years or their conceivable future, they wouldn't have sufficient funds. So it's not sustainable. It's good to give aid or assistance to help out a person in the short term, but if you're thinking about their future, a small assistance will not help. We need something more sustainable. So in terms of sustainability, the development world where we work has done a lot with skills training, right? That's a great idea. You take an ultra-poor person, you give them skills training so that they're able to do something for themselves. Skills training, interestingly, leaves other gaps, because if you skill a person, but that person doesn't have any capital to go to the market to do business with, then the skills training is not of so much value. And we find that a lot of the ultra-poor people, they live in such remote areas that even with the skills that they have, they cannot do a business for themselves, or they do not have enough capital to make a big enough business, or they do not live close enough to a market where they can actually go and do some kind of a job and earn an income. So the three solutions that we have for poverty have not really successfully worked to bring the ultra-poor out of extreme poverty. So we remain at the place where we were maybe 15, 20 years back. Now that we are solving this problem, we go back to the problem of public transportation, and we need to ask the same questions. What are the things that the ultra-poor need? Where are they? Where are they living? Where do we need to take the solutions to? How can we make it sustainable over the next 10 years, 20 years of their lives? How can we make sure that they never come back to extreme poverty again, no matter what happens in their lives and how they lose their money and what happens, who falls sick or who is disabled? So we need a very robust, sustainable answer. And for that, we start with asking questions. We ask questions, and these are some of the things that we learned that helped us come up with the solutions. The solution that's there first looks at where are the ultra-poor? And one of the reasons we haven't been able to reach them so successfully is because they live very, very remotely and they're almost invisible. They're the people who we cannot even imagine imagine, forget even designing a program for them. They're very remote and they almost have no voice. So the solution to that question was, we cannot find the ultra poor, but we are going to use their communities and their neighbors to identify who they are. That's how we're finding the ultra poor in villages. Next question. What do we need to give them? The ultra poor cannot deal with business capital because they have more pressing needs in their life. What's the first thing they need? They need consumption support. They need money or assistance to buy food, to buy medicine, and deal with the small problems of their life before they can get into a productive enterprise or some kind of a business. So we know that we need to give them a short-term stipend to solve their present needs. Then we get into the core of it. We give them a big asset. And that is what engages them in some kind of an enterprise and gets them to go on the life of productive income generation. In order to give the enterprise, we have to also provide them with training, because without training, they're not going to be able to use the enterprise for very long, and they'll not make the right business decisions that will make the most out of the capital that we have given them. And finally, with the training, we realize that one of the reasons that the ultra-poor remains poor is because they do not have the proper life skills to make the right decisions at the right point of their time. Perhaps they will do something damaging, like marry off their children when they are 14 or 15. So to help them to make the right kind of decisions, we also need to give them life skills training. And all these things together make a program that we are calling the ultra-poor graduation approach. The graduation approach has been successful in tackling extreme poverty one by one. It's not a solution where the one size fits all. It's a solution that is individually customized. And in Bangladesh, we've been working on this for some 15 years, and we've had some very good success, and it's a model that we feel like, just like microfinance, we're ready to transport it all over the world so that extreme poor all over the world can come out of poverty and uplift themselves to a place of sustainable living. Thank you.